That's why I sit here.
Yes. Thank you. I didn't ask for one and I didn't print one out. That was stupid of me. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Would you do the pledge tonight? Okay, so it is, where's the time? 6:41. And I would like to call this meeting to order. And if we can have a roll call, please.
Amadeo,
Here.
Vice Chair Woodson, Commissioner Ryan, Commissioner Herr, Commissioner St. John,
Here.
Commissioner Walton, Commissioner Jacobson.
Here.
We have quorum. And Madam Chair, Commissioner Herr did call me or emailed me to discuss saying she would not be here tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. If we can now have a moment of silence and the pledge, and Commissioner Jacobson has agreed to lead us in the pledge. So if you'll stand.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Good.
Now is the time for special announcements and communications from the floor. So we will start with special announcements from our one person in our body tonight. And he is shaking his head no while he laughs hysterically. So we'll move on. Communications. Oh, first we will do up here. And I don't see lights. How am I supposed to know? They were hidden by this screen. Okay, so we have.
Is this the ex parte?
This is the ex parte is next. So right now is any comments or communication other than ex parte from up here, and we already asked the public. So now it's time for ex parte.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
It was just, while visiting the site yesterday, I had a discussion with, the current property manager regarding, how many tenants were there now and that sort of thing. So
Okay.
just wanted to disclose that.
Thank you very much. Now we will move on to the consented. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see your light. Is this screen movable? It is.
How do I just turn the light on?
That turns the light on when you go up, turn it down, and it's off.
Yes, I about a week and a half ago or so, I visited the site on Del Monte, also for the apartments. And while I was walking around, a couple of the tenants came out to see what this guy was doing, walking around there. Anyway, I just told them I was, one of the planning commissioners and was just taking a look at the site. And were they aware that the new apartments were coming? And they were aware. This was one by one. It was not together. And they wanted to know if there was any update on when it would happen. I said, no, we don't have any update at all on that. And so, but they were aware of it and they were quite anxious to have something new. They said it was kind of deplorable to live there. Okay.
There you
Anyway,
go.
that's all.
Okay. Any others with any ex parte communication they need to disclose? No. Then we're going to move on to the consent agenda. And the consent agenda is the Planning Commission action meetings of March 9th. So if you don't have any comments or on the minutes, then I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I so motion.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jacobson. Is there? And it's been seconded by Commissioner St. John. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
There are no nays, so it passes unanimously. And we will move on to the public hearing. The public hearing tonight is to consider adopting a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Marina approving an extension of the combined development permit for the project at 3298 Del Monte Boulevard, APN 032-031-001 and 3, for a period of 24 months or until March 23rd, 2025. The project is exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15332 of the CEQA Guidelines for Infill Development Projects. The planner is Nicholas McElroy, but he is not here. So Allison, are you doing this for us tonight?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair Amadeo. I am sitting in for Nick on this project. I'm sorry I don't have a PowerPoint. I do actually have a PowerPoint, but I cannot make it project. So it's very short and sweet. As you mentioned, the project description is an extension of the permits for an additional 2 years. This is a request for an extension of time only. No modifications or changes of any kind are proposed at this point. The commission it's not up for discussion, the attributes or potential impacts of the project right now. So that's really not, shouldn't be a part of the Planning Commission's discussion tonight. I would like to make a correction to the Planning Commission resolution that's in your packet. Commissioner St. John did point out to me that the new expiration, should you approve the extension, should actually be February 8th, 2025, not March 23rd, 2025. So we have that corrected already in the resolution that the chair will be signing. Again, the extension also qualifies for the Section 15332 CEQA exemption for infill developments. And we do want to note, just so the Planning Commission is aware, our current Marina Municipal Code does not have a section that addresses extensions like this. the director made the call that since the planning commission was the review authority for the full permit package, one item, the affordable housing agreement did go to the city council, but the entitlements were approved by the planning commission. So the planning commission is the review authority for the extension. However, because our code is moot on this point, we will be undertaking one of our many minor code updates that you've all been enjoying lately. We will be bringing this forward to the planning commission and then the city council to establish extension regulations and who the review authority is, and just codify it so it's clear moving forward. So I, of course, had a nice recommended action for you to read should you feel so inclined, but I think it's also in your staff report. So I leave it to you. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions for staff on this point? And Commissioner St. John?
Yes, I have a question that is more not to staff, but to the owner applicant for the apartments. So would I address it to staff since they're not here?
They are actually on the Zoom call.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Should I wait until it's their turn?
They'll be allowed.
Yeah,
So go
the
ahead.
chair will.
Yeah, ask your question.
Okay, yeah, there were basically two issues that have prompted this request for extension. One being, I think just the short version would be financial issues due to COVID and et cetera. And the other was the complexity of the 20 or so conditions of approval from the first approval session. I guess they're just called conditions of approval. Let me check that.
Yes, conditions of
Approval. And what I would like is a status update on where they stand on the conditions and identify the ones that are so complex that it would require an additional 24 months or so to get the building permit started. And that's all I have. Thank you.
So I'm going to quickly ask, is that really a question for staff? Because you would see what had been completed, or is it for the?
Staff is not aware of their progress they've made so far. So
That's what I wanted to.
yeah, the applicant is on the line.
Okay. Okay, so before we move to the applicant to answer the question, I'd like to know if any other commissioners have questions either for staff or for the applicant. And I'm not seeing any lights. So if we can recognize, I think the name was Norbelt. So Mr. Norbert Larios, if you are available, I don't have control over this. So we're waiting for it to show that you are allowed to talk. And
Hi, this is Norberto Larios.
there you go. Thank you.
Actually, it's going to be Tom Jess that's going to be speaking. If you guys.
Okay, thank you. So,
Hi, can everybody hear me?
yes.
Okay, perfect. Good evening. I am Tom Jess. I'm with Eris Studio Architects. We're the architect for the project. The owner of the project, Peter Laughlin, is traveling right now, so he's on a plane. He was hoping to, if it was landed or if he was in the airport, he'd be able to call in, but I don't think he was able to. So just wanted to clarify a couple things with the intent, and then I can answer the questions that were posed a little bit earlier. So the status update is Peter has hired us and our team of consultants, including the structural engineer, the mechanical, electrical, landscape architect, civil engineer, and everyone to prepare the drawings for the phase one portion of the plans. We've prepared those drawings, submitted them to the city for to the building department for the building permit, and we are actively in the process of responding to plan check comments. We received our first round of plan check comments. We responded to those. So we're in the process of getting the building permit currently. So that's kind of the current status. And then as far as the reason for and I do want to clarify that there are the conditions of approval, and we're not asking for any modifications or changes to any of the conditions of approval. I believe staff mentioned that. So this is simply an extension, which is condition number 2, I believe. Yeah, which says that an extension may be granted if an application and the applicable fees are submitted, which we did before it expired. But everything, there's not any particular conditions of approval that cause a delay. It's more just the combined process of getting that all done. So when this was first approved, the building climate was very in flux. If you remember, that was back when inflation was going through the roof and lumber prices went from $95 a unit to $1,000 a unit, and everything was just wild and in flux. So waiting for that to settle down kind of maybe took a year or so, and then maybe a little bit more than that. And then it just took time to get the drawings done, get it all prepared, make sure it's all engineered properly and submitted to the city. So it's just going through the process. And so we're moving through and trying to be as efficient as we can to get this done, but just took a little bit of time. I think.
Thank you, Mr. Jess. Do you have anything else you wanted to add at this point?
Not for me. No, thank you. I think
Okay.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, did you have anything else?
No, thank you very much for the update. And I am glad to hear that things are moving and drawings are with the city for approval, and seems to be working quite well. Just one follow-up. Can you give us a overview of your schedule when you would actually possibly what quarter would you break ground, and for phase one, when would be completion target, et cetera, if you have that?
Yeah, I can do my best. There's always a little bit of unknowns, but the earliest that we would have approvals through the building department, and that includes public works and fire and all the various departments, would probably be another 3 to 6 months from now. Like just going through the process and doing that, and then Peter could break ground anytime after that. So I would guess that it would be in the fall would be the earliest that he could break ground. And I think that my understanding is that that's his intention, is to move forward, as soon as he can.
Thank you again, Mr. Jess. Any other commissioners have any questions at this time? No. So we're going to move on to any comments from commissioners. And I'm not seeing any comments from the public. Nope. So I would entertain a motion at this point. Okay, you can't even bring it up on the screen for him to make the motion, right? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So I think the proposed motion is I would like to make a motion to adopt the Planning Commission Resolution 2023 dash blank Exhibit A, approving a 2-year extension for the Sea Point Apartments based on the findings and a Class 15332 CEQA exemption for infill development.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Woodson. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
And we have a second by Commissioner St. John. So if we can, do we need a roll call vote, or Do we do it simply by
I
eye?
think technically for something in hybrid, we should for the benefit of the public. So Chair Almadine,
Yes.
Vice Chair Woodson,
Yes.
Commissioner St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Walton,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you so much. Then we will move on. There are no action items.
Thank you.
Thank you. There are no action items, and now we get to informational items. First, want to tell us about the ethics training?
Ethics of ethics. So every few years, the planning commissioners need to do this 1, 2, 3, 4. Commissioner Jacobson's on the restoration of windows there. And if you haven't done this in the last 2 years, that is the link to do. Disclosure conflict of interest. Active development without disclosing, just stuff we want to do about this since I've been here. So, but we do have to do it. So I give you guys the link. And the expectation is you guys will knock it out in the next maybe 45 days. So
I know that Commissioner Hurd did it down at the, so.
I also did it at the academy.
okay.
There was a grain farm or certificate and sign, and I turned that in
Okay.
in your office.
Right. Actually, I'm not sure if the John then. I think it's a referral. Yeah, okay. Okay, I think it's a so,
I don't think I was due this time. I think last.
In between, because that was the one that it doesn't take the full time to do.
Yeah, it doesn't
And
take
so
me
you
2
have to
hours.
sit and you go through things. So I think in aggregate, I've exceeded the 90 minutes, but I can't tell.
You still have to get the little thing that says,
I
congratulations.
think I did at one point.
Okay, so if you can just come with me. If you didn't Commissioner Walter as well.
Yeah, if you do it online at the end, you print out the certificate. So. Okay. And now we move on to item B, which is the League of California Cities Planning Commissioner Academy report. And Commissioner Herr is not here, but myself and Commissioner St. John also attended. So I'm going to let Commissioner St. John start. Tell us what he thought.
And I turned in a summary, I think by email and to you or, yeah, so.
I
bet the public would like to just hear your impressions.
So the goal for tonight is, we try to maximize the reading. With the staff, if the staff goes through training, they try to bring the material back. We scan it as a staff and then share it with everybody else. And then usually the staff member at a staff meeting will share, I went to this training, we're not going to go through all 8 hours of it, but here's 4 or 5. Share with the rest of the staff. So we just want to have that same practice for the commission of, is there something you heard? Is there something you think we can do better as staff, as commission, as the commission? And that's what we're trying to get out of the 2 out of the 3 who attended. So
If I can make a comment real quickly, they didn't have handout materials, which they normally have, but they said they would be available at the league website because presenters didn't give them the materials in time in order to distribute them. So when they're available on the website, I can let you know, and then we can do this in a more formal way. I will give my impressions as opposed to what I learned. I've been to League of California Cities, either commission academies or annual conferences, and I've been on committees, et cetera, from the beginning since 2005. This was by far the best commissioner academy I have attended. It was focusing in primarily on the housing bills, which we've been very concerned about. Even the games they played were all about the housing and what are we going to do about it? How are we going to address homelessness? And I thought it was really very helpful as we move forward to understand that it's not Marina's problem or Monterey's problem or Monterey counties or Los Angeles counties. It's not even the state of California, but we have to address it through the state of California. The entire country is facing a dilemma associated with the high cost of housing not available to those people of low or moderate income. And so all states are having to deal with it. We're not alone in this problem, and we can only solve it when we work together. So I was very impressed. Do you have anything you'd like to
Yes,
add?
that, yeah, the prevailing theme and discussions predominantly focused on housing. And a second subset of the housing crisis and how to solve it. And there weren't any good solutions, none. No one said, here's the silver bullet, or offered, one. But the other subset that most of the commissioners that were there voiced was a lack of real estate for new housing. And the answer to that, and Marina is not in that subgroup with no real estate yet. But probably in 20 years, which we're working on the 20-year plan right now, that'll take us to 2045. I would predict that by 2045, we will be in that subset of no land to assist us with the housing problem.
Right.
But the answer to the no land people or cities was up, go up. Okay. And maybe we need to take a look at our 20-year plan and allow for going up. Because right now, I think we're limited to 3 or 5 stories, something like
Yes.
that.
Yes.
But we're sitting on a beautiful coastline. We're a mile from the water's edge. And if we go up, that makes a beautiful vista or sunsets. Okay. And so I think we could capitalize on going up. We just have to change our perspective of a little 1 and 2 story housing to
Right.
20 and 30 story housing.
Right. The single family housing is part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing that we talked about a bit was the issue of financing, because developers make their money off of these mega houses, the $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million houses. And that's not affordable. So how do you then finance for that missing middle and low income? And one of the things that I brought up was when you take away tools, financing tools, you really handicap cities in dealing with that financing issue. I did participate in the discussion the other night, and they talked about using Melrose for Cypress Knolls, which nobody thought about, but that's so expensive for the person who will eventually live in that house. So it may be a good tool for financing building, but it's not a good tool for finding housing for that missing middle that you're looking for. So those kinds of things were discussed. We have the added difficulty, and I brought this up, of having half of our town being a former military base and brownfields and demolition and the cost of all of that. So it's not I guess what I would take away from that is it's not a one size fits all. What works in San Jose is not what's going to work in Marina and may not work in LA because the situations are different in every part of the state. So it was fascinating discussion, and it just showed how difficult this issue is to solve. Which is what made this academy one of the best I've been to, because we really were dealing with very complex issues that are facing every city without any simple, hey, I know the answer to that. They also talked about very briefly something that I found interesting was city council meetings, planning commission meetings. There's an angrier and angrier element that comes to meetings, and how do you deal with that? And they talked about, sometimes you have to take a recess. I just watched a video of a city council meeting in Antioch where the mayor completely lost his temper and had to leave the room. And the attorney is saying we need to have a recess, and literally the vice mayor had to take over and call for a recess. We don't want to reach that point. And I mentioned people do have the right to speak their mind. And we should support everyone's right to speak their mind. And one of the ways you calm people is recognizing when they come forward, this is not a time to argue. This is a time to say, I hear you. And defend their right to speak their mind. And I used it as a council member, and someone who attacked me frequently stopped attacking me. Doesn't mean he didn't disagree with me, but he didn't attack me anymore. And so I know that it's very effective when you say, I hear you, I support your right to say what you need to say. And one of the presenters says, I'm stealing that from you. Because it is very effective. You want people to feel like when they're angry that they have the right to their own feelings, their own emotions. And as long as they are not inciting violence, they should be allowed to speak. And it is disarming. So another thing that happened, how do we deal with these very volatile issues? And I knew something that had worked for me. So hopefully it will work for others as well. So anyone else?
Yeah, just one
Okay.
follow-up.
Okay.
One of the most interesting things I heard at the meeting was in the closing remarks. One of the closing presenters gave, I guess it was his opinion, but it was very strong and very well thought out opinion of what caused California's housing crisis. And he traces it back to the passage of Proposition 13. That is the root cause of the housing crisis. And I'm new to California, so I just inherited Proposition 13. But and he did point out that there were several times, and I guess it's over 20 years old.
Oh, well, way beyond that.
Or
Yeah. I think it
In
was
the
74, 73, 80. Okay.
so it,
Several decades old.
yeah,
Every aspect of California life.
and he said there were several attempts in the ensuing years to revert it, cancel it with a proposition to cancel it, and all of them have failed. But maybe the heads need to, the smarter minds need to come up with a Proposition 113 or something that helps to solve the housing crisis, because it's not going to solve itself.
Right. One of the things that we have to remember is Prop 13 was an initiative from the public.
Mhm.
It wasn't a law passed by the state government. And as a result, it has to be an initiative from the public to overturn it.
Yeah.
And that's very hard to do, especially when the general public is worried that, oh my goodness, now my $1 million home or $2 million home is going to be taxed so high, I can't live here anymore. Could be.
That's what
Yeah,
you combine the two together. That created a problem.
a huge,
You have the majority, which is why we now have some referendums state.
exactly, exactly. So again, another complex issue that has no simple solution.
Speak into the microphone,
Oh, I'm sorry.
everybody.
We are looking at you, so we all turn our heads. So we have no more informational items.
No, and like I said, we're just trying to, at the same time, I don't believe what you, who sent it to me, I think it was like, I think it was late, but just, yeah, we can definitely share. I'm pretty sure I'm going to send you a comment. Greg, just as you get it, we'll share it with the rest.
Okay,
And for the other questions, you can we have a budget for 2 or 3 each year. So if you guys want to go next year, then definitely that's an option. So, and it always gives the commission training opportunities to enhance the commission. So
it makes a huge difference. And I know some have participated when it was virtual, but it makes a huge difference when you're there in person. It's just a remarkable difference. So I highly encourage to try to attend, if not next year, then the following year, but please try and attend. So next is major projects update. Do you have any updates for us?
so speaking of the commission in 2 weeks to go a little bit on the things, see how they did approve the item that the commission took up and actually have gotten some of those photos of affordable units already to the building department. So those will be coming online relatively soon. CME and then radio station at Allison are making quite a bit of progress on data for the hazard agreement. So that'll be coming to the council. I'm not sure if I come to the commission for that soon. So that it was general plan. We had our first general plan last Thursday went very well. We're very blessed to have such a diverse community. Section of Marina was at the meeting. Different, obviously, ethnic groups were represented there. People from this council was a really good kind of representation. Such good dialogue. So I feel like we're in a good group. I'm having the next meeting June 1st. You guys are going to see what some probably see June.
I can go back one. This was more personal on my attendance at the academy. You do a lot of network when you go to the Planning Commissioners Academy. But one of the things that I was impressed by was I met 2 young men. One was in his second term as a planning commissioner, and he was 28. And another one was in his first term. He was a college freshman and he was 18. So it was really exciting to see really young people who are engaged in local government. I've got goosebumps again just thinking about it. These guys were very enthused about what they were doing and the difference that they could make in their community and the things they were learning. So that was really exciting. And I just had to share that because I'd love to encourage, we've got a college right next door. We got a high school right here in Marina to encourage them to get involved in local government. They can do it and their opinions would be valued.
Absolutely. We actually had a high school member come. She's on the GPAC and we're actually reaching out to the school to do a little workshop with the kids. So
yes, that's wonderful. Okay, do we have any other comments from commissioners before I adjourn? Yes.
I'm just gonna, because I attended the public meeting last week. And I'm gonna second what he said. And actually the high school student, she stood out. And they all stood out, but she was astute and well-spoken and heavily engaged, not only in her school, but already in the community. And a number of her friends that she cited and worked with. And I think that I was impressed with, I go back to the same thing. I thought the engagement that they had right from the start, you could not tell that that was the first time that committee had ever met. They really were working together and talking about things. They asked, what I got out of it also was they were starting to ask good questions and really thinking about the process. And they didn't necessarily have they didn't have the answers, but they were asking a lot of good questions, just generically, okay, trying to understand where is the general plan going to go.
Very exciting. So thank you all very much. And we are adjourned.